The Baltimore Ravens just wrapped up the highly anticipated joint practice with the Green Bay Packers before their preseason finale facing the Green Bay Packers on Saturday. As you would expect, this came with a plethora of headlines coming out of this practice. I'm only going to cover the big ones unless you want to see me cover more, in which case drop a comment and let me know what you want to see. I'm more than happy to talk Ravens football anytime, anywhere. First off, there were several Ravens who did not practice, including Tyler Linderbaum, Mark Andrews, Arthur Millette, Adisa Isaac, and Nelson Aguilar. So when you don't hear anything about those players, that would be why. According to Coach Harbaugh, and sounds like everybody involved, the practice went really, really well. A lot of really good work for all the starters involved. Of course, this takes on a lot of significance for the Ravens because this is the closest thing to a game the Baltimore Ravens starters are going to have until September 5th. And it's the first, and that's the first meaningful football they will have played since January. So it's good that they were able to get out against other starters and hopefully knock a little bit of rust off going into the season opener. I'm sure there were plenty of players on both sides that had a really good practice. I know Roquan got an early interception, which fired up the defense, but I do keep seeing it pointed out that Rashad Bateman had a really good practice. Afterwards, John Harbaugh said he looked good, quick, and fast. I'm happy with Rashad. He's going to have a great season. I also expect big things from Rashad Bateman. This is his first healthy offseason since not even his rookie year. Going into his rookie year, he wasn't even healthy. So yeah, this is his first healthy offseason. And I said last year that I thought Rashad Bateman had the potential to be a number one receiver in the National Football League. I stand by that. I think he has that much talent. But your best ability is availability, and I think he has a lot to prove this season. And I know what you're going to say. Zay Flowers is the Ravens' number one receiver. That is true. That's a fact. And until he is dethroned, he's going to be number one. But if you have Rashad Bateman vying for that top spot, and if you ever get to a point where they're both playing so well, you have to debate who is the number one guy. That is a great problem to have. Iron sharpens iron, so the better Rashad Bateman is, the better Zay's going to be, the better Nelson Aguilar is going to be. It's going to make the entire offense that much better. There was a point in this practice that Kyle Hamilton went down on his hands and knees. He ended up getting up with the trainers, holding his left hip, being walked off. He returned later on, but did not participate in any more practice. He just returned to the field. I don't know what he did there, but he returned to the field. John Harbaugh did clarify afterwards that it was not serious. Now, this is not the first little injury scare that Kyle Hamilton has had recently. And look, I don't want to over-exaggerate, but in my opinion, Kyle Hamilton is one of two players on this Baltimore Ravens defense that they cannot lose if they're going to have long-term success this season. In my opinion, it's Kyle Hamilton and Roquan Smith are the two players. Not other players are not important, obviously they are, but those are two foundation key players that do so much on this defense. There's really nobody that's going to replace them. You're not going to replace Roquan Smith, even though I think Trenton Simpson is just oozing with talent. I love what I've seen from him. The dude's a dog and natural-born Raven. But you can't replace Roquan Smith. He is one of, if not the best linebacker in the league. And Kyle Hamilton is just a Swiss Army knife who does everything really well. You can't replace him either. So hopefully the injury scares stop now and do not follow him into the season, because that would be bad news if he were to go down for any significant amount of time. But I'm glad he's okay, and it sounds like he's good to go going forward. Now, I think the biggest storyline out of today's practice in the Ravens' 2-minute drill, they were running low on time, so they had to settle for a 62-yard field goal, and Justin Tucker missed it. Now, I know what you're all thinking, and I'm thinking it too. This means only one thing, and that's Justin Tucker is officially washed, and he needs to be cut immediately. Obviously, I'm just kidding. So now to get to what you're all probably most wondering, and that's how did the offensive line fare against the Green Bay Packers starters? We've seen the offensive line against, mostly backups in the preseason, and look, to say they've looked less than impressive would be maybe an understatement in some circumstances. But of course they were missing two key starters. Of course, I already mentioned Tyler Linderbaum was not out there today. The answer that it sounds like we got, and this is not going to be helpful at all, is that once again there was some really good and then there was some not so good. John Harbaugh said after the practice he was happy with how firm the pocket was 90% of the time. So if you can carry that into the season, then yeah, 90% of the time you're happy with your offensive line, pass protection, or then obviously you're doing something right. There was also a tweet from a Packers beat reporter that said Lamar Jackson is running for his life on non-running plays. So do with that what you will. John Harbaugh also pointed out that Lamar was not really looking to run in this practice, so he was holding onto the ball a lot more and a lot longer than he would during a game. It's no secret the Ravens usually have one of the best offensive lines in the league, but let's be honest here. The Ravens can get away with a lot more blown offensive line assignments and plays because you have Houdini in the backfield. He is going to make up for some of the lack of experience. Obviously not everything, and I'm not saying they can go all nilly-willy with their offensive line. The offensive line has to be good if they're going to reach the potential that I think this team has, and that is a Super Bowl. If they're going to reach that, you cannot do that with poor offensive line play. I'm just going to be completely honest and give my opinion here. I know there's a lot of people that are probably going to disagree with this and may think I'm even being negative, and I promise that is not at all what I'm trying to do. But I do expect that this offensive line is going to struggle early on in the year. I don't know how you roll out 3 new offensive linemen, 2 of those being rookies, I'm assuming, with Roger Rosengarten and Andrew Voorhees. And I know Andrew Voorhees is in a second year, but he didn't play last year, so he's a rookie. I don't know how you do that and not have growing pains. It doesn't hurt that you have 2 really good other offensive linemen, and Tyler Linderbaum leading the charge at center, and then Ronnie Stanley guarding Lamar Jackson's blind side. Of course, he needs to step it up this year as well. Last year was a little underwhelming in my opinion. He needs to do better. He needs to be better. Hopefully injuries are not holding him back this year. As far as I know, he's feeling good. Hopefully that carries into the season. But I will not be surprised if this offensive line struggles for a little bit into the season. There's going to be some growing pains, and that's okay. That's okay. It's a marathon, not a sprint. As long as they can gel as the season goes, this team's going to be A-okay. You have the second best quarterback in the league, and you have probably the second best running back in the league. They have enough talent in the backfield. It's going to take loads off of this offensive line. The important thing is they believe they have all the right guys in the right places to make this work, and that's ultimately what matters. So it was encouraging that John Harbaugh was as high on this performance today as he was against the Packers starters. It's been something that I've been a big question for me, and I think most of Ravens Nation as well. I've seen a lot of mixed opinions about the offensive line at this point, but I do want to know what you guys think. Were you encouraged or discouraged by this report about their offensive line today? Like I said, it's a little mixed. You hear a little bit from both sides. I'm not completely sure, the full story. Of course, I wasn't there. But I think this offensive line is going to be A-okay in the long run. But I want to know what you guys think. What did you think of the reports that came out about today's practice regarding the Ravens offensive line? Were you encouraged, discouraged, or somewhere in the middle? Let me know in the comments. If you're a Ravens fan, I don't know what you're doing. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, like the video, comment, help it grow. Let's blow this channel up. As always, I will see you all in the next video. Go Ravens!